Bit of seriousness at first, and then later in the vid, a bit of light-heartedness. This is a follow-up to the video I made yesterday, no, the day before, when regard, gatefold 33's fantastic video on the dilemma of collecting vinyl. It just sparked a few memories, like, for instance, there's this suburb of Sydney, a trendy suburb, Newtown, or Novigrad, as some of us call it. I mean, I've been stuck out here in Nowheresville for over 10 years now, but before I left, there was about half a dozen fantastic little hole-in-the-wall independent record stores, imports, second-hand, the best sort of record shops you ever want to go to. They're not big, not too pokey, but not huge. Just so good, and it was so cool that whenever Elton John was in town, not that Elton John's cool, but whenever Elton John was in town, he would go through all of those. Trying to be disguised with a baseball cap, but And anyway, I think it was called Revolve. Yeah, pretty sure. Sadly, that one's gone. That's it's been destroyed by Record Day and what's it called? Splatter vinyl and remastered box sets with 500,000 million versions of John Lennon's Imagine sort of crap, So those days, I guess, are over, but I got the memories. Actually, what sparked me to do a lot of these videos is that I read that people that had suffered from hypertension, and I've had that all my life. It was undiagnosed until I was in my late 30s, and it killed my auntie when she was 26 and killed my uncle when he was 40, both from brain aneurysms. I never knew my auntie. She died before I was born. But it said that those that suffer with hypertension in their 30s are 60% more likely to get dementia. And I don't know, I'm 70, but some of these videos are for me to keep a track on. If I'm really I live on my own. I've been out here 10 years. You don't make friends with people in these towns. They're just bogans, It's like rednecks in America. They just, you wouldn't want to know them. So I have no way of knowing if I'm losing the plot or not. And this is sort of a bit like just me keeping track of how badly I'm going. Quick, this sparked a memory. This wonderful Armandur 2. This is a reissue. Terrific album. Terrific. Bought this at Revolve. I remember when I bought this. I remember the day I bought this, actually. What happened was, what have I done? Yeah. I'll fix that in a minute. I remember the day I bought this because it's stuck. I'll get it out later. I remember the day I bought this because as I was buying it, this youngish fellow, probably in his late 20s, came in and saw me buying it, and he said, "Oh," and he thought it was an original, and we said, "No, it's a reissue." And then he sort of got all excited, and he pulled out a couple of albums, and took it to the guy behind the counter, lovely guy, co-owner, one of the co-owners, and said, "Oh, I've got to have this." And the co-owner said, "Look," he said, whatever his name was, he said, "Look, you have a problem." Apparently, this young guy didn't have a job. He was, living like from hand to mouth, day to day, but he had a terrible vinyl addiction. And he would have been a nightmare for the people in this shop because he'd be in there every day, wasting their time because he couldn't afford to buy any records. And it was sad because the owner actually said, "Look, you haven't got the money, you can't do it." And it was awful. I just thought, oh my God. And then the same chap, um, I had spoken to the guy behind the counter previously, probably 6 months earlier. I went there for a year or two, once a week. Cool little shop. And he told me his story as well. This video is a follow up to Gatefold 33, talking about vinyl addiction, blah blah blah. And he told me his story, which was even sadder than this poor young guy that had a terrible addiction, that he was so addicted that he'd rather starve than miss out on some record he thought he needed. And this guy, we were just talking in general, and this guy, it turned out that he said that, I said, "Oh, do you own a part?" Get off there, you cunt. You're a part owner of this store and all that sort of thing. And he said, I used to be. And I thought, oh no, what's this? And he said, look, he said, I was half part owner. He said he had his own little shop up on the North Shore in Sydney. And then he went in a partnership with this guy down at Newtown. And he said his wife had had enough of his vinyl collecting, and he got divorced. It was so bad that his wife divorced him. And I said, oh my God. And he said, yeah. And he said it took 3 removal trucks to take away all his vinyl. I mean, you can imagine it would have been in the tens of thousands or something, collection. And yet he still couldn't tear himself away from the world of vinyl. He was still working in the shop, but no longer as a co-owner, but as an employee. So there's 2 cautionary tales right then and there. Oh my goodness. God love him. I love that young guy and I love the guy behind the counter, but their lives had tragedy and somehow, yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Okay, that's the heavy shit. Now, I've never played this. I bought it ages ago and I'm going to give it a whirl today because it's an absolutely miserable shit hole of a day today out here. It's back in the middle of winter again. James Bond Greatest Hits. This is from Rachel Music Man. This is like those 22 KTEL hits things. 20 original tracks. James, but this is not KTEL. This is an EMI release. 1982. And the number is Play 007. So I'm going to give this a whirl today. I've had this for ages. I might have actually bought that at Revolve. It's also on Liberty. Isn't that a coincidence? This is Liberty, Armandul. Liberty Records. This is a freak out, man. What are the chances? Liberty, I've got about half a dozen Liberty singles. Hardly anything came out on the Liberty label, especially in Australia. How weird is that? Anyway, so Sheena Easton, Goody Gumdrops, Carly Simon, that might be right. Paul McCartney and Wings, Lulu, Shirley Bassey, Nancy Sinatra, Tom Jones, Louis Armstrong, James Bond theme, Kingston Calypso, Under the Mango Tree, From Russia with Love, Mac Munro, yes. Goldfinger, Shirley Bassey, yes. Thunderball, Tom Jones, yes. You only live twice. Nancy Sinatra, double, yes. On Her Majesty's Secret Service, we have all the time in the world. Louis Armstrong, I don't remember that. Diamonds Are Forever, oh yes. Shirley Bassey, Live and Let Die. Paul McCartney and Wings. Bond Meets Solitaire, The Man in the Golden Gun. Nobody does it better. I love that song. Holy shit! And I've never owned it, and I didn't know it came from The Spy Who Loved Me. Because as much as I loved Roger Moore, as the Saint, I could never get him as James Bond. He just wasn't James Bond. Nobody does it better. I had no idea that was from The Spy That Loved Me. Moonraker, Shirley Bassey. See, I haven't seen those later films. So I am going on as usual. So there it is. That's today's listening. I'm going to force myself to sit through that. So on a light-hearted note,